Legendary gang. So y'all, man, it's Legendary back another year. JxmyHighroller TK. We got JxmyHighroller. This one mistake won the Celtics an NBA championship. I ain't even gonna lie. Wish I could actually say what he talking about. I don't know the mistake. JxmyHighroller TK. We gonna go ahead and sit here and watch it. And I did hear, you know what I'm saying, about the reason. I heard about Caruso. That's actually crazy. I'm actually mad as fuck that they gave him up for fucking nothing. I ain't gonna lie. And I heard about Redick. I ain't even gonna cap. Good luck with that, Lakers. I ain't even gonna lie. Y'all might be fried. Yo, it'd be funny if Bron don't come back.
The Miami Heat just won their second straight NBA title. Jason Kidd and Grant Hill just announced their retirements. And the 2013 NBA draft is about to begin. The first overall pick
so we going all the way back.
Cleveland Cavaliers. And with their stellar track record of #1 picks, their selection was bound to be a future Hall of Famer, franchise-altering caliber player.
The Cleveland Cavaliers select Anthony
Oh shit,
Bennett.
never mind. This is the wrong draft. Bro was a bust.
Nevada, Las Vegas.
Biggest bust.
He was not. On June 27, 2013, the Cavaliers selected Anthony Bennett with the first overall pick in the draft.
That might be the worst #1 pick of all time.
Play just 4 seasons in the NBA, never even averaged 5 points a game, and is widely considered to be the biggest bust in NBA history.
Facts.
And somehow, the Cavaliers drafting Bennett wasn't even the worst decision a front office made in the NBA that day.
Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Jason Terry, all going to the Brooklyn Nets. Celtics get 3 #1s, 2014, 2016, 2018. Humphreys, Wallace, Evans, just a bunch of stuff. Clearly the Celtics are...
Bro, that's
what was
OG,
described by many as one of the worst trades in NBA history.
Bro, because I remember, bro, I was like, hold on, pause. I remember, bro, I was a little kid, I think, around this time. And they was talking about they was trying to beat the Miami Heat, and that like this would be the team to beat the Heat. Them niggas didn't. They got washed. I remember this, bro. Reggie Evans, I remember, bro. This the ball nigga. Gerald Wallace, I remember, bro. Humphreys, bro. I remember all these dudes.
And Paul Pierce, for
Jason
4
Terry.
aging role players, a rookie who played 5 minutes a game, 3 first-round picks, and a pick swap. A big haul for the Celtics, but the ultimate 50 cents on the dollar trade. Fans were shocked, appalled, the trade being described as completely lopsided. Trading away 2 all-star caliber players and a starting level veteran for 5 players, the majority of them probably won't even see the court in a Celtics jersey, and 4 picks that may or may not pan out, unforgivable. But little did fans know, 11 years later, this trade would trigger a sequence of events that would lead them directly back to a title.
Crazy. And they was all past their primes, I feel like. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just get bro ads
2013
sponsor, but
feels like a lifetime ago. The league was
like they was really past their
yet
prime.
to be introduced to some of our favorite players. 3-pointers didn't dominate the game, and the Boston Celtics looked like this. The core of their 2008 championship winning roster still intact, minus Ray Allen. This team and this team are worlds apart, with nothing in common other than the name on the front of their jersey. This 2013 team was good, but the door on their championship aspirations was closing quickly, and time would tell that they would never go on to win another championship. What they would do, however, was inadvertently spark a chain of events that would ultimately lead to a championship over a decade later. They didn't know it at the time, but this team was about to make the ultimate sacrifice that would inevitably guide the future of this organization back to a championship.
Damn, that's crazy.
And it all started with one trade.
Man, bro, I remember that, bro. I remember I was a kid.
There's a huge trade agreed to last night, and this is the one Berman is certainly not happy about. According to reports, the Boston Celtics will send Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett to the Brooklyn Nets for a package of players including Gerald Wallace and 3 first-round picks. Now, the rebuilding movement in Boston is clearly in full effect now. In 1 week, the Celtics Nation has said goodbye to Doc Rivers, Pierce, and Garnett. The Nets, meanwhile, have put together an all-star starting 5. It's looking pretty good.
In the summer of 2013, the Celtics broke headlines by trading Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce to the Brooklyn Nets for what felt like to fans at the time very little in return. The deal itself wasn't great, but trading away the heart and soul of the team was an emotional gut punch for Boston fans. Not only was the team that Boston fans grew to love completely stripped away, but this trade meant the Celtics
was old. Like, I understand that they was like 27, 25, but I just read, bro, they're 37 and 35, bro. Like, the likelihood of them winning another title, even if they kept him, was probably not gonna happen, bro. It's like, bro,
we're going to be in rebuild mode for the foreseeable future. But Celtics GM at the time, Danny Ainge, had a plan, a timeline that was going to take the Celtics to the lowest depths of the league before inevitably bringing the organization back to glory. And that timeline began just 6 days after this fateful trade. On July 3rd, 2013, the Celtics hired former Butler University head coach Brad Stevens. Now, Stevens had never coached in the NBA before. He was just 36 years old, and he was handed over one of the worst rosters in the league. The 5-player haul the Celtics got in return for Pierce and KG was about as inconsequential as expected. Keith Bogans and Marshawn Brooks played a combined 10 games for Boston. Chris Joseph played a whopping 24 minutes in a Celtics jersey. Chris Humphries was on to a new team after just 1 season, and Gerald Wallace was retired within just 2 seasons, which meant that the near future of the most successful and storied franchise in NBA history would be determined by their 4 newly acquired draft picks.
Respect
by the
Reggie
end of the
Evans,
2016 season, 3 years after the infamous trade with Brooklyn, the Celtics roster looked like this. The 2 remaining players from the 2013 roster.
Okay, so they got the 2012 to the 2013. Here's Garnett. Bro, I remember Sullinger, bro. I remember these dudes, bro. Like, damn. So they had IT Turner. Is that Amir Johnson, nigga? I ain't heard of that man in a minute. Crowder, Lennox Smart, Zeller, Rozier. I remember Rozier. What, Rozier still playing? Is that Lee? I remember David Lee. Damn, bro.
Were Avery Bradley and Jared Sullinger. The team was painfully average throughout those 3 years, and they used that 2014 first-round pick they received from the Nets to draft James Young, who didn't really pan out.
I don't even know who that is.
They did have an all-star guard in Isaiah Thomas, and 3 remaining picks from that trade with the Nets. What they managed to do with these picks would become a masterclass of NBA management and nothing short of a miracle.
Damn. Light gives you limits, make the championship team.
It all starts with the Nets being absolute dog water in 2016, winning just 21 games, the 3rd worst record in the NBA.
That's crazy.
This gave the Nets great odds in the draft lottery and resulted in them landing with the 3rd overall pick in the 2016 draft, a pick that now belonged to the Celtics.
I was just thinking, bro, if they would have kept if Brooklyn never would have made that trade, would Tatum and them niggas be on Brook? I don't know, bro. That's crazy.
At the time, these picks that the Celtics received were a complete shot in the dark. Many people believed this 2016 pick was going to be a mid to late first rounder because no one thought the Nets would be as terrible as they were.
Now, the picks, first rounders in 2014, 2016, and 2018. Now, they will probably not be lottery picks because of the fact that the Nets would probably be doing well by then.
Turns out this pick wasn't just a lottery selection, it was top 3. And with this 3rd pick, Boston selected a 6'6" two-way guard out of Cal who was getting comparisons to Jimmy Butler.
With the 3rd pick in the 2016 NBA Draft, the Boston Celtics select Jaylen Brown from the University of California, Berkeley.
Jaylen Brown got off to a slow start with Boston, but the potential was clearly there. And with the addition of Al Horford, who signed in the offseason, the Celtics would go on to have their best season in a decade, winning 53 games, earning the #1 seed in the East, and making a run to the conference finals. Their luck was turning around. The fateful trade in 2013 fading into the past. But that Nets trade would prove to be the gift that just kept on giving.
Damn. Bro, they won 53 games and then got Tatum right after that. That's crazy.
After their 2017 season, the Boston Celtics were
like
set up for one of the weirdest occurrences that can happen in the NBA. As bad as the Nets were in 2016, they managed to outdo themselves in the following season, winning just 20 games and having by far the worst record in the league. And this meant that despite the Celtics finishing the season as the 1 seed, thanks to that 2013 trade with the Brooklyn Nets and the 2017 pick swap that came with it, the Celtics had the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft. Now, this has happened before, both in 1978 when the Blazers finished the season as the 1 seed and the Pacers just willy-nilly traded away their first overall pick before the draft, and in 1982 when Cavs owner Ted Stepien traded away their first-round pick a few years prior, leading to the Lakers having the #1 pick in the draft after winning a championship. In fact, Stepien was so reckless with his trades that the league had to step in and make a rule, essentially preventing owners and GMs from shooting themselves in the foot. So the fact that the Celtics had this pick in the first place was miraculous. But what Danny Ainge did next was not a matter of good fortune, but rather genius. Instead of using their first overall pick, Ainge decided to trade down and swap picks with the 76ers, giving them the first overall pick in return for the 3rd pick in the draft and a future first rounder. The Celtics front office already
I remember this was the season that they was hyping up Markelle Fultz and I think it was Lonzo, bro. And I don't even think they really needed a point guard. So I ain't gonna lie, that's a smart trade down.
And it wasn't Markelle Fultz or Lonzo Ball.
Yeah.
They also knew that they were going to get their preferred player regardless of if
that's smart.
First or third. So in one of the ballsiest moves in draft history, Ainge traded away the first pick for the 3rd, got the player he wanted, and got a free future first rounder in the process.
Damn.
The player they selected in the 2017 draft was just the player they needed.
With the 3rd pick in the 2017 NBA Draft, the Boston Celtics select Jason Tatum from Duke University.
By 2017, the Celtics went from an average team drifting in no man's land to earning the top seed in their conference and securing one of the best young duos in the entire league. Their next task? Building a championship team around their new young talent. And they still had one more pick remaining from the KG Pierce trade. So after they drafted Jason Tatum, Boston traded away Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas, and that 2018 first-round pick they received from the Nets in return for Kyrie Irving. By the end of the 2017 offseason, the Celtics roster had completely turned over once again. The first seeds of a championship team were being laid, but time would prove that once again.
Saw Greg, bro. Yo, come on now. Gordon Hayward, man, I ain't gonna lie, I remember that.
The first seeds of a championship team were being laid, but time would prove that this team wasn't quite ready for the big stage. The Celtics were good, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals in their first season with Kyrie and winning nearly 50 games in his second season.
I remember Kyrie got hurt
but
this year,
it became clear that Irving did not share the same priorities or expectations as the organization. So in the 2019 offseason, Kyrie decided to not return to Boston and ironically signed a 4-year deal with the Brooklyn Nets.
Damn.
This was a huge blow to the Celtics. It completely caught them off guard. They lost an all-NBA player and they got nothing in return. The first step backwards for the organization during their rebuild. At this point, the Celtics knew they had a solid foundation with Tatum and Brown, and if they wanted to win, it would be with a team built around these two. So that's what they did. Over the next year, they drafted Peyton Pritchard in the 2020 draft. They acquired Lou Cornett in a trade during the 2021 season. They signed undrafted free agent Sam Hauser, and they traded to bring back Al Horford in the 2021 offseason. By the start of the 21-22 season, the Celtics finally had some continuity with their team. 10 players from their 16-man roster returning from the 2021 season. But 8 years after their 2013 trade with the Brooklyn Nets, long after the residual aftermath of the trade had seemed to come to its natural conclusion, there was one last gift that trade had to offer for the Celtics. Now, if you can recall, in the 2017 draft, the Celtics used their pick they got from the Nets to draft Jason Tatum, but not before trading away the first pick for the 3rd pick and a future first rounder. Well, that future first round pick came into play in 2019 when the Celtics selected Romeo Langford with the 14th overall pick. Now, Langford didn't quite work out for the Celtics, and so in February of 2022, the team packaged Langford, Josh Richardson, and 2 first-round picks in a trade with the San Antonio Spurs in return for Derek White.
Bro,
just
really?
Like that, nearly a decade after what was described
as
that's
a highway robbery, dog.
Time, the Celtics turned an aging Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Jason Terry into Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White.
Hey, bro, need a raise.
8 years later, Turns out that trade wasn't so bad after all. But the Celtics weren't done yet. After a finals appearance in 2022, the team was hungrier than ever. They were close. They had the tools. They knew they were still missing some pieces, and they knew just where to get them. But in order to have a chance at a title, they would have to make their biggest sacrifice yet.
You want to win, you're going to have to sacrifice.
On June 23rd, 2023, just 3 weeks after their season came to an end, the Boston Celtics broke headlines in a 3-team trade with the Memphis Grizzlies and the Washington
Wizards. Yes, sir. Hey, we'll take smart, though. I do appreciate y'all for that. Well, now, to get Porzingis for them,
their leader and the heart of their team, Marcus Smart. A trade that was described as one of the most difficult decisions the organization has had to make in recent history. But it had to be done. The Celtics were one step closer to their ultimate goal. And just before the start of the 2023-2024 season, Boston made one last move that would prove to create the winning formula they had been seeking.
Jrue Holiday is a Celtic just days after being dealt from Milwaukee to Portland.
I ain't gonna lie.
For Holiday, the Celtics have sent Rob Williams and Malcolm Brogdon to the Blazers. Portland also gets a 2024 first-round pick via Golden State and a 2029 first-round pick. Here's a Jaylen Brown.
And with the acquisition of Jrue Holiday, the Celtics would go on to dominate the 2024 season, having one of the greatest seasons in NBA history, resulting in an NBA championship. Over the course of a decade, the Celtics went through a massive rebuild that featured 112 players, 30 draft picks, 4 coaches, 2 GMs, one of the worst seasons in franchise history, 5 conference finals appearances, and finally, they had their championship roster. All of this stemming from 4 measly draft picks the Nets threw in as consolation in a lopsided trade 11 years ago. Look at the Celtics today and all of their talent, their record-setting season, the championship they earned, and you'll see a team that was bound to win a title. They've been called a super team, an easy path to the finals, too good for their own good. But when you take a step back and look at the long road the Celtics took to get here, you'll find resilience, sacrifice, patience, risk-taking, genius, management, and coaching, and an organization that has been meticulously crafting and building their championship team for over a decade. This championship was no fluke. If finding themselves in the same situation, I'm not sure how many organizations would have the foresight or composure to make some of the moves Boston did throughout this process to get where they are today. In the summer of 2013, the Boston Celtics made what was thought at the time to be one of the worst trades the NBA has ever seen. But unknown to them, 11 years later, this infamous trade would trigger a sequence of events that would put the Celtics on a crash course with NBA history and a championship.
Damn, man. All that work paid off, though, bro. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy that down the line, you know, they just keep the same team. You know what I'm saying? But all that work did pay off. I ain't even gonna lie. You know, JxmyHighroller took care. Let me know how y'all feel about that, man. I can't wait till next season, though, bro. I really can't, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all let me know how y'all feel about it, man.